When you act as if everything always works out, you're not pretending. You're setting a new standard for how your mind responds to life. Most people react to circumstances. They wait to feel confident until they get a result. They wait to feel safe until there's proof. But the people who truly change their lives, the ones who create extraordinary outcomes, they don't wait. They decide. They choose a mindset that supports the result they want long before they ever see it. Now understand this, your thoughts are not just thoughts. They are instructions to your nervous system. If you think you're in danger, your body responds with fear. If you think you're supported, your body relaxes. So when you consistently act as if things are going to work out, no matter what, that thought becomes a signal to your body and mind to calm down, to stay clear, to keep moving forward. You begin to operate from a place of certainty instead of survival. And when you do that, your energy changes. You show up differently. People feel it. Opportunities don't just go to the most talented. They go to the most aligned. You can be brilliant, but if you're consumed by doubt, hesitation, or fear of the worst-case scenario, you will hesitate. You'll second guess. You'll miss timing. But when you believe things will work out, when I truly act like it, you walk into rooms differently. You speak up without apologizing. You handle obstacles with poise instead of panic. You become magnetic. This doesn't mean you ignore problems. No, you face them. But you face them with a mindset that says, even this will serve me. That's power. That's leadership. You start looking for possibilities instead of excuses. You stop wasting energy on worry and start investing it in strategy. You take bold action because your mind is no longer sabotaging your momentum with 1,000 what-ifs. And here's the secret: you don't need proof to believe. You need belief to create proof. The moment you flip that switch, when you choose to act from faith instead of fear, you shift from reacting to creating, from hoping to knowing. And that shift, that invisible change, is what bends reality in your favor. You are the cause, not the effect. So ask yourself, what would you do differently if you knew it was going to work out? If you knew that every step, even the ones that feel like detours, were part of a greater design bringing you exactly where you're meant to be. Because once you start showing up from that place, life starts showing up for you. Everything changes when you act like nothing can stop you. Most people think confidence is something you earn after you've succeeded. They think it's something that shows up once everything is certain, once the path is clear, the results are in, and all the risks are behind them. But that's not confidence. That's comfort. Real confidence is forged in uncertainty. It's built when you have no guarantee and still choose to move forward like the outcome is already in your favor. That's the kind of belief that separates the people who wait from the people who win. See, the challenge isn't the unknown. It's how you respond to it. Life doesn't come with a playbook. There's no map for your exact path. But when you act as if everything always works out, you're not denying uncertainty. You're mastering your relationship with it. You're telling yourself, I don't have to see the outcome to believe it's already mine. That's power. That's how you walk into rooms you've never been in before and carry yourself like you belong. That's how you handle setbacks without losing your direction. Because you're not attached to appearances. You're aligned with something deeper. Most people want to feel certain before they take the leap. But the truth is, you only gain certainty by taking the leap. You step, and the ground appears. That's how confidence is built. By stepping forward even when your hands are shaking, even when your voice is trembling, because something inside of you is louder than the fear. That something is the decision to believe. And when you make that decision over and over again, fear begins to lose its grip. The unknown becomes your ally. Uncertainty becomes a space of possibility, not paralysis. Think about it. Every breakthrough in your life started in a place of not knowing. But you moved anyway, you tried, you trusted, and on the other side of that was growth. So why do we keep thinking we need to wait until we're ready? You'll never be ready in the way your fear wants you to be. What you will be is committed, certain, not because of facts, but because you decided to be. When you walk through life with the mindset that things are always working in your favor, even when the evidence isn't there yet, you become unshakable. Not because life is easy, but because you're no longer controlled by the need to know every answer before you act. You become calm in chaos, focused in distraction. That's what gives you the edge. Not knowing everything, but trusting yourself through anything. It's not about removing uncertainty. It's about becoming bigger than it. We've all faced setbacks, a lost opportunity, a rejection, a door slammed in your face just when you thought things were finally starting to move. And in that moment, it's easy to believe that things are falling apart. But what if they're not? What if they're falling only into place in a way you can't see yet? That's the mindset of someone who acts as if everything always works out. They don't look at setbacks as stop signs. They look at them as setups, redirections, upgrades, hidden gifts waiting to be unwrapped. Now, that doesn't mean you won't feel the sting. You will. It hurts when something doesn't go your way. But here's the difference, Seg. You don't let the pain define the story. You don't stay there, you use it. You ask, what is this trying to teach me? Where is this trying to take me? Because every time something breaks down, you've got a choice. You can break with it, or you can break through it. People who operate from the belief that things are always working out, even when the evidence says otherwise, have an edge. They're not Norvy. They're strategic. They understand that life doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you build the strength to hold. And sometimes the delay, the detour, the disappointment, it's there to prepare you, not punish you. It's making sure you become the version of yourself who can handle what's coming. There's a reason things didn't happen the way you wanted. Maybe you were aiming too low. Maybe the timing wasn't right. Maybe life was trying to push you towards something greater than what you were settling for. But if you throw in the towel the moment it gets uncomfortable, you'll miss it. You'll miss the upgrade because you were too focused on the obstacle. When you act as if everything always works out, you give yourself the permission to stay in the game long enough to actually win. You stop interpreting failure as the end and start seeing it as feedback. You stop playing the victim and start playing the visionary. Every successful person you admire has been knocked down, but they didn't stay there. They reframed the loss. They said, this is happening for me, not a tohog me. And that's the belief that created the bounce back. It's not about never falling. It's about becoming the kind of person who always rises, who looks at the wreckage and finds the blueprint, who understands that the detour was the destination all along. The moment you stop seeing setbacks as signals to quit and start seeing them as signs you're being shaped for more, that's the moment everything begins to shift. Every time you act like things are going to work out, you're doing more than just shifting your mood. You're training your brain to believe in possibility instead of preparing for disaster. And that's not some fluffy idea. That's neuroscience. Your brain is constantly being shaped by what you repeat. Your thoughts, your words, your posture, your decisions. If you walk through life expecting chaos, your nervous system stays in survival mode. It becomes your default setting. But if you move like you trust that things are unfolding in your favor, your brain starts to adapt. It begins to expect positive outcomes instead of bracing for impact. You can't wait to believe until it feels easy. You've got to lead your mind. You've got to show it what's possible by how you behave in the face of the unknown. When you act with confidence, even when you feel unsure, your brain starts to make new associations. It says, Wait, we were uncertain, but we still showed up. We still spoke up. We still took the step. And guess what? That action sends a stronger signal than any fear-based thought ever could. This is why acting as if is so powerful. It's not pretending. It's rehearsing your future. Every time you take a step from belief rather than doubt, you're rehearsing the person you're becoming. The person who doesn't crack under pressure. The person who stays steady when things get messy. The person who expects good things, not because they're entitled to them, but because they've trained for them. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your patterns. So if your pattern is hesitation, overthinking, or pulling back every time you hit resistance, that's what your brain will keep serving up. But if your pattern becomes stepping into uncertainty, showing up fully, and leading with belief, even when it's shaky at first, that becomes your new normal. That becomes your edge. You'll start to notice that your recovery time gets shorter. Your bounce back gets faster. Your self-trust gets stronger. And here's the part most people miss: your actions don't need to be perfect. They just need to be aligned. It's not about faking confidence. It's about showing up with the courage to keep moving even before you feel 100% ready. Because the readiness comes from the repetition. You act, you learn, you grow. And the more you repeat that, the more your brain says, "We've got this. We've done hard things before. We can handle this too." Belief isn't a mood. It's a muscle. And you build it every time you choose to behave like the outcome is already leaning in your favor. The moment you start acting like everything always works out, something shifts inside you. You stop waiting. You stop sitting on the sidelines, overthinking every move, questioning every idea. Instead, you start moving. And movement is what builds momentum. Too many people are stuck not because they lack ability, but because they never take the first step. They're waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect conditions. But perfect doesn't show up. Momentum does. And momentum only comes from action. The truth is, when you believe things are working in your favor, you stop hesitating. You stop needing every step to be clear before you begin. You don't wait for validation. You create your own. And every action you take, no matter how small, starts building a case in your mind that says, "I'm doing it. It's happening." That belief compounds. You start taking bolder risks. You start trusting your instincts. You stop shrinking to fit the fears you used to live by. Let me be clear. This doesn't mean you'll never feel doubt. Doubt shows up. Fear shows up. But when you've committed to acting as if things always work out, you override hesitation with motion. You interrupt that old cycle of paralysis with progress. And what happens next is powerful. With every step you take, you start to collect results. Maybe not massive wins right away, but feedback, experience, lessons. And all of it feeds your momentum. The beauty of momentum is that it multiplies. One conversation leads to another. One yes opens 3 more doors. One tiny win builds confidence for a bigger one. But none of that happens if you're waiting around trying to outthink fear. You can't think your way into confidence. You act your way into it. When you move like the outcome is already aligning in your favor, your energy changes. You stop begging for approval. You stop playing small. People notice. You walk into a room and you don't need to say much. Your presence speaks first, because energy doesn't lie. When you're in motion, when you're leaning in, when you're creating instead of doubting, people feel it. And opportunities tend to find the people who are already moving. Most people never find their rhythm because they never give themselves a chance to build it. They take one step, and when it doesn't explode into success, they retreat. But the winners, the ones who actually shift their lives, they keep stepping. They trust the process long enough for the process to start trusting them back. You want to shift your life. Start moving like it's already happening. Start making decisions like you're already the person you're becoming. That's how you create momentum that can't be stopped. When you carry yourself like everything always works out, people feel it. There's something magnetic about someone who walks through uncertainty with calm, who handles pressure without panic, who keeps moving forward without needing constant reassurance. That energy is rare, and rare is valuable. It draws people in. It builds trust. It inspires others to believe more is possible for them too. See, people aren't just listening to your words. They're reading your energy. They're watching how you show up when things don't go as planned. They're observing how you hold yourself when the pressure is high. And when they see that you don't flinch, that you don't collapse the moment things go sideways, that you keep believing in your path when it would be easier to give up, that's when they start to believe you with you. That's when they start asking, what is it about this person that makes me want to level up? The world follows certainty, not arrogance. Certainty, not fake positivity. Real conviction. And that conviction is contagious. When you act from a place of knowing that even the tough moments are part of a bigger picture working in your favor, you become someone others want to be around. You become the person in the room who lifts the standard, not just by what you say, but by how you carry yourself. Think about the people you've admired, the ones who left a mark on you. It wasn't just their skill. It wasn't just their talent. It was how they made you feel. It was their presence, their belief, their ability to stand strong when others wavered. That's not something you're born with. That's built. And it's built by choosing, over and over again, to act like what you want is already unfolding. You can't inspire from fear, you inspire from faith. Faith in your vision, faith in the process, faith that every move you're making is part of something greater. And when you show up that way, you give others permission to do the same. You remind them that they don't have to be perfect to be powerful, that they can walk through doubt and still choose to lead. You don't inspire by being flawless. You inspire by being unshakable in your belief, even while you're figuring it out. That's leadership. That's influence. And that's how movements start. Not from people who have all the answers, but from people who show others what's possible by living it first. Be the example that others point to and say, if they can do it with that kind of certainty, maybe I can too.